Okay, so as you can see, in the last 24 hours in Algorand, we got this huge move on the downside. And in this video, I'm going to talk a bit about this move and tell you why this isn't actually a bad sign. And in fact, we can now definitely argue that we are dealing indeed with a correction structure down and not an impulse. And after our correction is over, or maybe it's over already, we are going to start the next phase of the bull run. So with that said, hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you're having a great time with your family and loved ones. And let me give you a quick top tip, top secret. You see, if you go on some higher time frames and you see some huge candles with absolutely enormous bodies, at that point you can argue, let's say, okay, this candle is actually a red one and we got basically a move down in here. Right around these areas, you can argue that we're gonna have a move on the upside in order to reach to at least somewhere around the 50% of the Fibonacci retracement of the body of this candle, and then after it we can have a continuation of our move down. And on the upside, it is pretty much the same story. Excuse me, let's just delete these things. There we go. You can say, if this is a bullish candle, that we are going to have a move down in order to reach to about here, and then after it we are going to continue our move on the upside. And let's actually check some examples, maybe go on weekly chart and hide everything. There we go. Let's zoom in more and see, do we have some good examples or not? Yep, there we go. This is a decent candle. Followed by that, we got a pullback to the 50% of the body of this thing, and yep, this can actually be a decent example. Followed by that, after this move down, we got a decent pullback. Do we have some more examples? Yes, this is a good one. We had in here, in fact, a bearish engulfing pattern, and in the next candlestick, we got a move on the upside and we retraced to somewhere around, I would say, the 50% level. And yep, this can actually be a good one. This is a big green candle, followed by that a pullback and then a continuation of the move up. This can be another decent example, and I believe, yep, this can actually be another one. In this phase, we had a very strong move down with a big body candle. It was exactly in the next candle that we just got a move up and retraced to somewhere around the 50% of the Fibonacci retracement of the body of this thing. So you see, this is actually a very common pattern, and recently in Algorand, in monthly time frame, we got actually the same. Let's go maybe on a less busy chart, let's say from crypto.com. There we go. Let's use Fibonacci's and see where are we. There we go. Okay, where is the 50% level? Right in here. Now, in this candlestick, we actually tried to reach there, but we didn't do it perfectly. And now you can definitely argue that in the recent move on the downside, the retrace definitely happened, and we can argue now it's time to continue our uptrend in Algo. So this is, in my opinion, the first bullish sign. The second bullish sign in Algo is this. You see, in terms of classic technical analysis, meaning support and resistances, we are having two unbelievably important regions from weekly and daily time frame at the same time. One is right in here between, let's say, 27 to about 30 to 32.5 cents. The other one is actually down here between 20 cents to about, let's say, 21.5. There we go. So what happened in the last 24 hours? You can have two different interpretations for this move on the downside. You can argue this was just a simple fake out under this important region, or maybe this was a retest of this important support area, and since we are at the same time above this and also this one as well, you can argue that none of these things are broken, and again, this might be just a very simple pullback and we can definitely continue our move on the upside. So in terms of classic technical analysis, we are definitely having great signs. In terms of candlestick patterns, I told you earlier, this pullback was definitely a good sign in Algo, and we just do not have anything to be worried about in that area. And in terms of Elliott's waves, you might say, well, okay, this is a very strong move on the downside, and let's say I'm not sure about the shape of the moves, but let's say this is an impulsive structure on the downside. Is it going to be a bad sign? No. Why is that? You want to remember, let's just do this. In this move up in algo, before we get this strong move down, we actually took this side. And if you want to argue that maybe this is the start of a new bear market, then okay, you must be able to find off of the highest side to about the lowest low down here, a 5-wave down. Now, here's a very important point. In case that you are a new viewer, you should know. Because in this move up, we took this high, we have to now find an impulse in this face down. And this is an unbelievably important point. One way or the other, if you want to try to find a 5-wave down in here, wave 3 is going to be the smallest wave, which is a big no-no in Elliott's waves. So what's the point that I'm trying to say? Because in this move up in algo, we have taken this high, now we can definitely argue whatever move on the downside in this phase that we are going to have, there's a very, very high chance that it's just going to be a correction structure and not an impulse. And after it's over, we are going to have another move on the upside. So in other words, right in here is actually a decent long opportunity. And if you are one of my special members, in yesterday's market update, I specifically talked about this move down right in here and told you what is my stance on it. So I'm guessing that you weren't really surprised when this strong move down actually happened. Now, question, can we argue that the bottom is in right in here? Well, the answer is actually yes. You see, if you want to argue that the bottom is in around this area, okay, you must be able to find off of the lowest low a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave on the upside. This specific example is a normal 5 wave. Rules for it are, we should not have overlapping of the waves between wave 2 and 4, and in any kind of impulsive structure, wave 3 should not be the smallest wave. And for our sub waves, we must have 5 wave up into wave 1, 3, and 5. Excuse me, there we go. And for wave 2 and 4, we can have different scenarios, doesn't really matter. Let's just do this. Let's say, yeah, ABC into wave 4 and a WXY into wave 2. Understood? Okay, now let's go on the live chart, and we should actually go for this one on 5-minute chart. And I want to be very clear. Normally, I do not go on such lower time frames, but since this is just for the sake of educational purposes, I'm thinking it's fine. Okay, what do we have in here? I'm gonna argue this is an impulse, this is another impulse, and this can be another 5 wave on the upside. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if from here we're gonna get a move down, and in that move we are going to take this low, okay, I can actually tell you maybe this is going to be, excuse me, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up, and the current move down is going to be a correction structure, and hopefully it is going to be a correction, and after it's over we can actually start another move on the upside. Can we have another possibility? Yes. For example, in the next 24 hours in algo and also a lot of cryptos, we can have some strong moves on the upside, and in that case this 5 wave up is not going to be valid. Instead, we may have a series of 1-2s at that point. 1, 2, 5 up into wave 3. Excuse me, what just happened? There we go. Correction for 4. Another move up into wave 5. And this is going to be into a larger to be wave 3. Correction for 4. Another move up into wave 5. So if in the next 24 to about 48 hours, in algo, you see something like this happen, okay, then you should probably consider this possibility. But here's a very important point. If I just go on weekly time frame, excuse me, and so much more, okay, so how big this shadow actually is, let's measure it from here to about the lowest slope down here. As you can see, this is about a 26% shadow. Now, usually when we get such a strong bounce backs, during that phase, we actually create some decent gaps. And I believe that gaps 95+% of the time are going to get filled. So for me, makes perfect sense to say, you know what, in Algorand, one way or the other, we are going to have some pullbacks, and I want you to, in this phase, remain calm this is going to be very, very normal. One way or the other, whether from here or maybe we're going to have another move on the upside, something like this, we are going to get some moves down in order to reach to about these areas. I would say between 24 to about 25 and a half, 26 cents. And that is going to be absolutely normal. What really matters in these moves on the downside is this. Are they in form of corrective movements or maybe an impulse? If you see some slow and choppy moves down, that's actually going to be a fantastic sign, suggesting probably we are dealing with a bullish setup and the bottom is in, and this can be one correction for two, and the next move is going to be big one up into wave 3 and 4 and 5. So let's have a quick conclusion and wrap up today's video. In Algorand, in my opinion, we can argue that the bottom is in. However, this doesn't mean that we have to go straight up. In fact, I would argue some sort of a pullback is necessary, and for the next couple of days, you can definitely expect those pullback to show up, okay? I want you to remember this. Having a pullback in order to reach to somewhere around these areas is absolutely normal, and at that point, you should pay very close attention to the shape of those moves. If we had corrective movements in here and we had constantly overlapping of the waves, okay, that's going to be a great sign. And in the next Algorand update, we are definitely going to talk about it and see, can we be bullish with quite a bit more confidence at that point. So I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Algorand's chart. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent DA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next video, I hope you have a wonderful time with your family and loved ones. Goodbye.